Welcome back, everybody. I'm Giles, and today we're going to be talking cases, right? And I'm super excited to have both this Antec and Lian Li case that I'll be doing builds in the coming videos. But for today, I needed to get these things unboxed, and while I was unboxing them, I thought, let's take a look because they're pretty freaking cool. So at this point, and you know, I'm wishy-washy, but at this point, my favorite style of case is the style that's got the glass side and the glass front, because you can do so much stuff with it. I mean, you can take and put like a water block distribution unit in the front and see that, or you can put fans there. You can leave it clear so you can see in if you want to. There's just so many different things that you can do. So as I'm looking at these next two builds, I thought these would be really great options to try. Now, the Lian Li, this is the O11 Dynamic Evo. It's brand new. It's the one that can switch from left-hand side to right-hand side, meaning that the glass panel can shift from this side to this side, just depending on how you want to set things up. And this is the Antec P120 Crystal, which is classic. I love that. This is, when I think of this style case, this is what I think of. Maybe these guys did it first, I'm not sure, but I really like the way that Antec has implemented this form factor in their cases. Now, if you're not familiar with Antec, they've been around forever, and I think this might be my favorite case outside of the crazy weird ones that they have, but more in a traditional style of normal-ish looking case. I think this is my favorite one that they make. And just like on the Lian Li side, the O11 line are my favorites over there as well. So today we're gonna dig through these, do a little bit of comparison to help you decide which one might be the right one for you. Now, I usually do an unboxing, but these are kind of big and there's a lot of stuff. So instead, I'm gonna show you what came along with these inside of the case, and we're gonna do it through magic. Okay, yeah. So inside of the box, there were just the cases and then the goodie boxes. Now, the Antec goodie box is actually hidden up in this hard drive tray. So if you don't see it when you take this thing out, look inside there, it's in there. And then, you know, the Lian Li one is just way bigger than the Antec, and you'll see why, because we're gonna go ahead and look at these goodie boxes right now. Now let's take a look at the goodie boxes. So we've got the Antec and the Lian Li, and these things are quite different in size. Let's start with the small one. So Antec, just a very thin white box, pops open here on the side, and let's see what goodies hide within for us. All right, not a lot of stuff. All right, so I guess that's a warranty card. Instructions on how to deal with things, although there are not a lot of mysteries. It shows how to insert different components, how to use the trays for hard drives, that kind of stuff. And I guess it does show some of the mysteries of how you could use the case with the GPU support. Some nice cable ties. That's kind of cool. Actually, I like that. And then finally, hopefully all the screws that you would need for the build. Now for the O11 Dynamic Evo in white, apparently, nothing else. This thing's kind of heavy. Let's see what is inside of the box. Okay, we got all kinds of stuff. So we have a big white plate. Thank you for your purchase. I know what that's for. We have one of these. One of these. Some instructions, which hopefully will actually be useful. And we also have a much larger instruction booklet as well, with some additional documentation showing the normal and reverse are the left and right-handed configurations, which is the magic for this case. That's the reason why you want to buy this at all, is so you can flip it left and right or use two power supplies. Inside of the small goodie box, oh, we got a lot of stuff in here. Man, there are zip ties and a lot of screws, a lot. There's a filter and a thingy, and yeah, that will, as we get into the build, we'll look more closely at this stuff. and see what these pieces are used for. A lot of stuff there. But now I want to get back to these and figure out what these things actually do. After digging deep into the instruction manual, and maybe if you've done work with Lian Li before, you would know this already, but these are hard drive brackets. So we'll be able to convert the bottom fan holder bracket into a hard drive bracket. I doubt that we'll use this in my installation, as that I don't really plan to use any internal hard drives. It'll all just be NVMe and pointing toward external NAS, but that's what these are for if you want to have a billion large form factor hard drives inside of your computer. All right, so those are the goodie boxes for the two different cases. So let's dig through the dimensions. So on the Crystal, we're doing just over 9 inches in width versus, gosh, 11 on the O11 Dynamic Evo. Now the height, the Crystal is a little bit higher, a little bit taller, and we're looking at roughly 18, almost 19 there. While over here, just a little past 17, well, almost 18, call it 18. On depth, they are almost identical. With the Lian Li, and this is taking into account the screws on the back is 19 inches, and here we've got 19 and a quarter. So basically the same depth. I guess the really big difference here is the width on the Lian Li Dynamic Evo. And the reason for that, which will become apparent a little bit later, is the extra compartment, right? So this case has the front compartment and a rear, whereas this case basically just has your front compartment and then a little tiny bit of space for cable management. All right, let's now jump deep into this guy. The first thing that you're going to notice on the P120 Crystal is the door, right? Because this is a door. This is a little bit different than most other cases. Actually, I can't remember seeing this on any case, but this swings open and then lifts off and just completely gets out of the way. And that's really nice. And if you look, there are also seals around each edge too, I guess to help make sure cooling flows the way that you want it to. Again, the similarity between this and the Lian Li is there's glass in the front, glass on the side, but on the top, this unit is solid, whereas the Lian Li is perfed. And the reason this is solid is because you've got two hard drive cases and the PSU case at the top. So here at the bottom, this is perfed. There's a filter, but nothing goes down here except potentially fans, right? And that's a lot different than most cases, because you'll see most cases have all of this stuff here or in the back, but it's all been slid up to the top in the Crystal. Now we're going to switch over to the metric system, and you've got about, I call that 19.5 centimeters of width at the bottom. And then from a depth point of view, you're pushing right at 46. So plenty of fan space, radiator space if you want to put something down there, depending on the system board that you choose. And just like the Lian Li, this will fit all standard motherboard sizes. Now, what's interesting over here is that these two hard drive bays are removable, and that gives you vertical height to do a full 360 millimeter radiator on this side as well. And so you could do an AIO over here. If you're going to do a custom loop, you could put a radiator on this side for that as well. And for me, I'm not going to use any internal hard drives. I'm just going to use NVMe. So these guys are going to go away. Now with these installed, your height on this is going to be somewhere around 37 centimeters. And without these installed, you're looking right at 44 centimeters. So that's plenty of length for pretty much any radiator that you want to put in. The depth of the radiator that you use is going to be dictated by things such as the length of your video card or the specific form factor motherboard that you install. Some other things to call out is that as far as vertical GPU mounting goes, you've got 3 slots instead of 2. This is nice, so it can fit some of those beefy 2080s from the past. It comes with a mount for your video card, so this is a nice support, and it can slide up and down. And interestingly, up here, there's a cutout in the PSU shroud, and I'm going to leverage this to install a little screen back there for diagnostics. Now, I think there's actually a PSU that has a screen built in. I don't think it fits particularly well here, but you could do that. But it also lets you see the brand of the PSU if you want to show that off, or if we've got some interesting RGB that you're interested in. But for me, I've got a little touch screen, and you'll see that in the build video that we're going to install up here. Now, moving to the other side, you've got a couple of thumb screws, and these were installed extremely tight. I loosened them up with a screwdriver so that I could get these off with my fingers. You'll also notice perf here for airflow for whatever radiator you install, and there's also a filter back there. Filter is, well, not much to it, but just slides in. As you can see, there's plenty of access for cabling. However, there are no grommets, and you've also got what appear to be SSD mounts as well here for 2 SSDs. One thing to keep in mind as you look at the back side of this case, there's really only room here for cable management. You have some loops here where you can use zip ties and that kind of stuff, but there is no space for components. You might be able to get, like the RGB controller back here, but that's about it. Remember, this is where your power supply is going to go. And then over here, you'll either have hard drives or potentially remove these, and this will be full radiator. So there is no space for other items back in this side of the case. Now for a quick look at the back, at the top, there's a mounting bracket for your power supply, fan, and looks like this will take 140 millimeter. The shroud for your motherboard will be here, and then 3 vertical slots for GPU if you want to mount that way, and then your standard slots here on the side. Finally, on the bottom, you have your filter, which is removable simply by sliding it in and out. One thing to note is if you want to mount all of your fans here at the bottom, or potentially your radiator, you'll probably have to take these feet off to get access to put your screws in. Not a hugely big deal, but something that you'll need to consider during your build. And for the last aspect of the Antec P120 crystal, we've got the top, you've got power, reset, headphones, microphone, and then 2 USB-A. Take note that there is no USB-C here on the top of this case.
Life goes up and it goes down. I know my mom taught me that. I figured why we fool around so little, and we keep track of time, being so serious, idiots, thinking it will matter, keep me company downtown before the clock runs out. Sun is shining, but the rain is welcome too. Friends are nearby, don't need another view. Time is not on my mind, but then it's you. Oh, I love it when the love comes around, and then I remember all things must pass. But I'm not gonna wake up, wake up. I'm not ready, let me have another day. Don't wake up, wake up.
Now let's jump into the front of the Lian Li O11 Dynamic Evo. Now, the reason that you would want to buy this is the Evo part of this case, and we'll talk about that when we get to the back because it becomes a little more apparent there. But to get things on the front dealt with, glass across the bottom, USB-C, audio jack, and then one other interesting thing is that your controls are on the side as opposed to the top, right? And your power button can be pushed from either the front or the side, which is kind of interesting and adds a nice look. Now, this is the white version of the case. It comes in black as well, just like the crystal does. Now, moving around to the side, with the glass off, we can now get into the case and take a look at what we've got going on inside of this O11 Dynamic Evo. So You'll first notice that the layout is similar to the P120 Crystal. It's not exactly the same, but it's pretty close, meaning that you have space to the right of the system board where you can mount a radiator or fans. Across the bottom, you've got space for radiator or fans. And for this unit, there's also an additional bracket where you can put hard drives down here. And then on the back, you can also place a fan. Now, the big difference is that at the top of this unit, you don't have the PSU shroud as well as the hard drive cases. All of that stuff is moved into the left side chamber or the right side chamber if you flip it around and mirror it, however you want to think about it. So that's the really big difference. Now also, you'll notice that there's no vertical GPU mount anywhere here, so there's an extra kit for that. But the space here in front of the normal slots is smaller than what you find in the Crystal. So keep that in mind if you want to do something vertically. Also, this comes with a GPU support, just like the Crystal does. However, this one is a little bit different. It's a little bit smaller, and it's in the goodies box as opposed to being attached to the system board tray here. There's plenty of space to route cabling. This unit does have grommets on the holes as opposed to the Antec, which does not. And I don't know if that makes a big difference, but it's something to note. And then there's also space here for cabling with grommets also. One thing to keep in mind when you do the build, and I'll call this out when I build, there's a slot right here for a filter, and it doesn't come pre-installed, and you need to get that in here. It's really small, it's only about 3 inches, but there is a spot here where you need to install that. For dimensions, you've got about 17 centimeters on depth for the radiator on the bottom. For the right side radiator, you're pushing right at 42 centimeters. Looks like you can fit 120 millimeter fan here on the back side. And across the top, another 42 centimeters for fans or radiator. Total depth across the front is right at 22 centimeters. Taking a look at the rear, you can see that we have slots for 2 power supplies, which is interesting. I don't have a use case for that, but if you do need to, there is a capability for that. Otherwise, you will be mounting hard drives in these areas. There's a grommet if you need to bring cabling from inside to outside. And this is kind of cool, especially if you're going to use some type of internal display. You can run an HDMI cable out and plug it into your video card. I really appreciate having this here. Removing this cover, you can see that there are 2 3.5-inch hard drive trays installed. And these are rather nice. With this removed, you could replace this with additional I/O ports here at the top. Continuing to the other side, this panel pulls off just like the glass does on the other. And this will expose the second chamber. So you can see the hard drive cage, which can be removed if you want to. The spot that is intended for your power supply, and then just additional space here on the back. And you could fit a radiator back here if you wanted to. The bracket here in the center has plenty of space for SSDs or RGB controllers, whatever else you might need to place here in the center. All of the switch cabling has been pre-routed to this cavity as well. And the last thing to look at is here on the bottom, you've got your very interesting magnetic filter, which is pretty nifty. And then you can see the cabling, which routes across the bottom, which connects to your I/O. And remember, you can take this I/O and you can mount one on the top if you'd like as well. And now it's time for my opinion, right? The most important part of the video. So these 2 cases are both awesome. If they weren't awesome, I wouldn't be doing builds in them. But they're a little bit different. The main aesthetic is the same, but if you need 2 power supplies, maybe this is the right one. If you need to be able to switch from left to right hand, maybe the Lian Li is the right one. If you need something that's a little bit thinner, then this is definitely the one to go with here with the Antec P120 Crystal. I don't think you would go wrong with either one of them. I am excited to build in both, and I think maybe I can reserve judgment outside of thinking that they're both good until I do the builds in each. So look for those videos. They'll be coming very soon. Like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. This build in the P120 Crystal is going to be for a creator machine. It's going to use EKWB all-in-one CPU cooler. It'll have a nice video card. So this is, I think, going to be a very accessible build. So if you want to look at something that realistically most anybody would be able to put together, this is the one to check out, and I'll be doing this one first. Over here, just like I had to wait for this thing on pre-order for months, I've got some stuff on pre-order from EKWB to do a full custom build using the new Matrix 7 architecture. I have no idea when that stuff's going to come in, but that's what I'm going to do here, and this is going to turn into my gaming PC. So I'm really excited about that one. So make sure to like and subscribe so you'll be notified when these two new videos drop. And with that, see you guys in the next video.